General Conference is right around the corner, and we are very rapidly approaching it, which begs the question, what will happen with temples? Will there be more announced? Let's talk about it, and let's talk about the current status of all of the temples announced in the 7-year presidency of current President Russell M. Nelson, as well as we will take a look backwards in time just a little bit to see what has happened with the hastening of the Lord's work here on the earth in the last 30 years, with as many temples that have been built, constructed, and announced. It is miraculous. I am your host, Zach, and this is The Covenant Path. Welcome if this is a first-time watch for you. We are on YouTube and Spotify now. You can find us on Spotify at The Covenant Path. But let's go back a little bit. Let's talk, okay, General Conference. If you are a new member of the church, maybe you're not even a member of the church, General Conference is an amazing opportunity for you to increase your faith in Jesus Christ. So come and watch, come and see. There are, if you've never been before, here's how it works. Okay, April 5th and 6th. Let me double check. I've got my dates right. Yes, April 5th and 6th. There are several sessions of the conference where leadership of the church will give talks that'll help you increase your faith, give you guidance and direction. A lot of good things to listen to help you orient your life in a better way. And ultimately, it will help you draw closer to Jesus Christ. However, these conferences are also an opportunity for the leadership of the church, seeing as how they only happen twice a year, to give out generic church information. So if adjustments are being made, if temples are being announced, whatever the case may be, they happen at these sessions of conference, which is why Latter-day Saints around the world get a little bit excited, especially regarding temples. Everyone wants to know, where are the new ones going to be announced? Are they going to be in my city or town? Are they going to be close by? How close are we going to be to seeing temples in our neighborhoods? Okay. Which you should be. You should be rightfully excited. It is a very exciting thing. But is the Lord's work hastening here on the earth? Can we see that with numbers? I've spent a little bit of time, actually a lot of bit of time researching, looking at just in the modern history of the church. Go back all the way to Joseph Smith, Brigham Young, fast forward to today. You're talking a 200 plus year history. And what has happened with temples here on the earth? Can I tell you how incredible this is? How incredible it is that the Lord is hastening his work right now? You can literally see it. Now, if you go back to, I think even President Nelson, President Oaks have referenced this in recent talks in conference, talking about how many temples were on the earth when they were born, how many members of the church, less than 1 million members, and only a handful of temples that you could count on 2 hands. Not that many. And you're talking about 100 years ago, okay? Let's just jump back 30 years. 30 years even. Now, let me give you a couple of these numbers, run it by it with you. In the last 30 years, you have had 308 temples announced. In the last 30 years. That means prior to the last 30 years, in all of the presidencies of the church up to that point, only 59 temples had been announced, not even constructed and in operation. Because when President Hinckley became prophet of the church, not all the temples that had previously been announced had been dedicated, and some were still in stages of construction, okay? But back up 30 years ago, okay? If you don't know, Gordon B. Hinckley, he's set apart as prophet March 12th, 1995. So literally almost 30 years to the day, okay? In his tenure as prophet, his time as prophet, announces 78 temples. 78 temples, okay. Absolutely incredible. You had 59 prior to him going and becoming the president of the church. 78 in just a handful of years. Now, I want to play this clip from President Hinckley explaining why they did what they did. So take a listen to this right now.
But there are many areas of the church that are remote, where the membership is small and not likely to grow very much in the near future. Are those who live in these places to be denied forever the blessings of the temple ordinances? While visiting such an area a few months ago, we prayerfully pondered this question. The answer, we believe, came bright and clear. We would construct small temples in some of these areas, buildings with all of the facilities to administer all of the ordinances.
Okay, absolutely incredible. So President Hinckley comes in. They bring smaller temples to the world. They get placed in far off places. Okay, you still have sizable populations, sizable membership populations of the church in these locations where the temples are announced, these smaller ones from President Hinckley. Okay, President Monson comes in 2008, is set apart as the new president of the church. In his time as prophet, temples are continually announced. They continue to be built, continue to be dedicated. You have 45 in his time as prophet that are announced. Okay. Now, on that alone, I mean, incredible, absolutely incredible. You're still seeing the Lord hasten his work here on the earth. But let me give you, just in case you want to see an actual number. So if you do not know, there are currently 367 temples in various stages of operation, planning, renovation. That's your number, 367. Okay. Like I said previously, 78 announced by President Hinckley, 45 by President Monson. If you want a statistics percentage of that, that means that President Hinckley in his time as prophet announced 21%. 21% of all the current temples of the church. President Monson, 12%. Let's jump to President Nelson. Okay. 7 years ago, 2018, he becomes president of the church. In his 7 years, in his time as the current president of the church, as the Lord's mouthpiece here on the earth, 185 temples. Yeah, 185 is still a huge number. 185 of 367 announced in the last 7 years. Do you know how incredible that is? 185 temples. That is, if you want the statistics of that, the percentage, 50.4%. 50.4% of all of the temples of the church have been announced in the last 7 years. Now, here's the point of this video. Let's take a breakdown look of where they are. But to do that, I want to show you something that I've created. Now, if anyone would like this, if anyone comments, I will make a video and explain what is going on here. But let me share with you this map that I've created. Okay. I have plotted temples by each president of the church. So you can see here on the map, currently, this is the 185 temples that President Nelson has announced in his time as prophet. Do you know how incredible that is? Now, I've got to explain. Let me give you a color-coded sheet, the key for this. So if it's orange, the temple is actively under, it's operating. Okay, it's been dedicated, it's operating. If it is blue, that has only been announced. So you could have a site location, you could have a rendering. Blue just means you are announced, it has not been placed under construction. Green is actively under construction. So a lot of green going on in this map, a lot of blue, a handful of orange. But let's back up, actually. I'm going to uncheck this box next to President Nelson. You've got a blank world, okay? You can say this is a world in 1800. You have, now temples are built. They're constructed under Joseph Smith's time as president of the church. But putting aside what happened with those temples, the pioneers moved out west, you had to abandon them. Brigham Young comes in, his time as prophet, you get 4. Okay, you get Logan, Salt Lake, Manti, St. George. Now, purple is the only color you haven't seen yet. Purple means it's under renovation. So actively, there's 8 temples under renovation. So you'll see a couple of these appear. Joseph F. Smith, president of the church. You get the first 2 outside of Utah. You get Hawaii, you get Cardston, Alberta, Canada. Heber J. Grant, handful more. Idaho Falls, Mesa, Arizona, Los Angeles. David O. McKay comes in. You get basically double. You see the list over here on the left. But I mean, temples starting to dot the earth. You get the first couple in Europe, one in London, one in Bern, Switzerland. You see New Zealand gets a temple for the first time. You get one, the DC temple, that's a big one. Let me just add a couple more though. Spencer W. Kimball, he announced quite a few. You're seeing the world start to fill out a little bit here. You get temples in Brazil, temples in Mexico, across South America. You get South Africa gets a temple. You get temples in Asia for the first time. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Now, here's the big one. So this is, as I was saying, 59 temples right now you see on the screen with these dots. Okay. Gordon B. Hinckley comes in. He announces all of his temples. Oh, I should have had it over North America. We should do that again. It's dramatic. Okay. Gordon B. Hinckley comes in. You get all of these temples. Oh, wow. Lord hastening his work. Can you see that? Okay. Jump to Thomas S. Monson. We're going to get another bump. Now, we do have, as I was just saying, more purple. They're appearing. And a lot of the temples under renovation are your older temples. So that explains why the purple's on the map right now. Thomas S. Monson comes in. There's your 45 temples that he does. Now, I've got to pan out for the world when you see what happens with President Nelson. Boom. Isn't that incredible? Absolutely incredible. Temples are dotting the earth at an unprecedented rate. That you're at 367 temples. That's insane. That's incredible. That's such a blessing for the members of this church, for those on the other side of the veil whose ordinances are being done. The world is being prepared for the second coming of the Lord, and it's through those who go to the temple and make their covenants. Make covenants with the Lord and go back into the world and live them. But this is incredible. I mean, you can look at Africa. Africa's got, a lot of them are announced. You've got a handful under construction, but it's filling out. Europe is filling out. You've got, now here's a cool quote. I've got to pull this up. So this comes from Roots Tech, not even a week old quote. Okay. Elder Anderson, President Holland, they are being, they talk about the unprecedented rate of temples here on the earth. Here's what Elder Anderson says. It is a most special time when the prosperity has been given to us by God to build these houses of worship across all the world in dozens of countries so that we can, in this time, prepare ourselves for the second coming of the Savior. And here's what he said. Oh, well, okay, well, wait. I've got to read. I just want to read this whole thing. Why not? Why not? We're talking about temples and the hastening. President Holland said at Roots Tech, "We are moving. The work is hastening. I grew up within a shadow of the first temple completed in the West," referring to the St. George Temple, "as the saints came to this extended valley in the Pioneer Corridor. I thought everybody had a temple. Learning of these temples and this growth and these numbers has been a very personally moving thing for me." Elder Anderson noted that in only a few years, listen to this number, in a few years, 80% of all temple recommend holders in the church will be within an hour of a temple. An hour. Within a few years, 80% of the church. Yeah, no kidding. You look at Utah alone. You see California, incredible, like even across Texas, Florida, the entire Midwest, the East Coast. That's just the US. Mexico, like zoom in on Mexico City. It's incredible. Incredible. Guatemala has got a handful now at this point. Brazil, I think this is actually kind of interesting because it shows you population density. Like nobody lives in the Amazon essentially, but all of Brazil's population is here on the coast. And guess where the temples are being built? On the coast. But it's incredible. I didn't even show you the Philippines. That's the fourth largest country in terms of church membership. Like up and down all of these islands of the Philippines. I mean, it's incredible. Up and down the coast of Japan, in Australia, in New Zealand. Okay. It's just so cool. It's amazing. Okay. I've got to break down though, in numbers from President Nelson, what is currently going on with his temples. That is the promise of this video, and it took me a long time to get here, but I got really excited about this map that I wanted to show you. Now, I'm unchecking all of these other presidents, not because we don't love them, but because I want to specifically focus on President Nelson's temples, what has happened in the last 7 years. You've got 24 that have been dedicated. So like I told you, orange means they're dedicated. So there's just a handful. I'm not going to have time to go through 185 temples that he's announced, but you can see them here on the map. The ones that have been dedicated, like Okinawa, Yigo, Guam. You've got a handful here in U.S., the Red Cliffs Temple, Feather River, Moses Lake, Casper, Wyoming, Tallahassee, Florida. All pretty recent dedications just because they've all happened within the last 7 years. 24 temples dedicated. 4 temples are currently scheduled for a dedication. That includes the Auckland, Nairobi, Abidjan, and Syracuse temple. Now, an interesting thing to note, let's go back, let's recheck President Monson's. Let's actually uncheck President Nelson so you can see this. President Monson's tenure as prophet, he announced plans for 5 temples that have yet to be dedicated. Now, of those, I just told you the Abidjan temple is scheduled. Nairobi, Kenya, is scheduled for a dedication. So those 2 do have dedication dates. The others will quickly follow. I believe projections are for them to all be finished their construction this year. So 1 temple scheduled for rededication. That's the Toronto, Canada temple. 50 temples under construction. That's your green dots here on the map right now. 8 temples under renovation. I previously mentioned that. If you wanted names, I will list these though. San Diego, Orlando, Anchorage, Salt Lake, Kona, Manhattan, Provo, and Stockholm. All currently under renovation. 2 temples are scheduled for groundbreaking. That's the Birmingham, England temple and Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada. 55 have a site location. So the ones that have a site location on this map, I've been able to put in the actual spot. If they don't have a site location, I've put it in the city where it's been announced, but I'm most likely wrong because I am not a prophet, so I don't know where it's going. But 54, that's 54 of those temples do not have a site location, but they were announced in conference. Okay. Your most recent groundbreaking just occurred, the Antananarivo, Madagascar temple. That happened last Saturday, March 15th. But the Lord's work is hastening. It's absolutely incredible. When you see this, you can look at a map, see the world just filling at the rate it is. And it's not stopping either. I promise you it's not. You will see more temples announced. Now, I don't know how many, but whether it's 5 or 25, it doesn't really matter. The Lord's work is hastening. It's absolutely incredible. I wanted to close out this video though. Geez, I feel like I'm giving a talk in sacrament meeting. Close out this video. No, I wanted to show you though. President Nelson, a couple of conferences ago in 2022, he gave this statement. You don't want to lose sight of the real meaning and focus. It's exciting as members of the church. We're approaching conference. We want to know where they are. A lot of members do get excited for that, and rightfully so. I still think you should be excited. But just listen to this clip from our current prophet and president of the church.
Let us never lose sight of what the Lord is doing for us now. He is making his temples more accessible. He is accelerating the pace at which we are building temples. He is increasing our ability to help gather Israel. He is also making it easier for each of us to become spiritually refined. I promise that increased time in the temple will bless your life in ways nothing else can.
Well, with that, that'll be a wrap for this video. If you are interested, like I said, you can find us on YouTube and now Spotify, where you can listen to this recording. But tune in the future, subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified when videos are uploaded, and we will see you next time.